this is a disclaimer. This episode may contain graphic descriptions of crime and criminal activity. It may not be suitable for listeners under the age of 18 or for those who may find the descriptions disturbing. Listeners' discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to another episode of Krime KE podcast. My name is Ajuma and I am very grateful that you took the time to listen in today. In this week's episode, we get into the murder of 31-year-old Naomi Chebet. This is a very recent case. Well, not that recent, but it happened in March this year. So it's more recent than the other cases that I've been talking about. Naomi was found dead in her house in Kabete, and the investigation revealed a very troubling relationship between her and her husband. And with all that said and done, let us get into today's episode, and please stick around until the end of this episode to find out how you can support this podcast. If you search the name Naomi Chebet on Google, the first photo that will pop up will probably be a studio photo of Naomi Chebet and her husband, Samuel Njoroge. The photo shows a seemingly happy Naomi standing next to Njoroge, both of them in matching pink and grey outfits, and Njoroge was rocking a blue tie. This photo, according to her family, was the complete opposite of their perception of the relationship between Naomi and Njoroge. Now, to begin this story, let me take you to Saturday, 22nd March of 2025. Naomi's brother, Harrison, gets off work at around midnight, and when he gets home to her rental apartment in Kabete, he finds her passed out on the couch. He said that she was fully covered with a blanket, so he just assumed that she was resting after a long day. He leaves her on the couch and heads on to his room to retire for the night. Now, when he wakes up in the morning, he finds that Naomi is still lying on the couch in the same position that she was in when he saw her that night. Now, this is alarming to him because how come she has slept the whole night without moving at all? So he decides to open the blanket and wake her up. Under the cover, he finds an unresponsive Naomi. In one interview, Harrison said that he noticed that Naomi's face was swollen, especially near her eyes, and her neck had dark strangulation marks. He immediately went to report her murder to the Kabete police station, and he shared the sad news with their family who lived in Solai in Kiambu County. Police processed the crime scene, interviewed their neighbors, and transferred her body to the Chiromo mortuary for an autopsy. Now, after several interviews with Naomi's neighbors, the police had a suspect in her murder, and it was her estranged husband, Samuel Njoroge. Now, how did we get here? Naomi and Njoroge were married and they had 3 children together. And although their relationship looked rosy from the outside, there were a lot of issues on the inside. In 2 separate interviews, her parents say that they had warned her several times against being with Njoroge. The reason being, Njoroge was very abusive towards her on several occasions, and he had even threatened to kill her and their children several times. They had been living together in Kabete for at least 2 years before she was murdered, and in that time, her parents say that they were fighting day in and day out. They say that the fights and the threats had gotten worse with time, so they even met Njoroge's parents to try and resolve the issues in their relationship, but things only got worse. At one time in November 2024, Naomi and Njoroge's household called her parents as the two were arguing, and her parents were able to hear Njoroge threatening to kill her and their kids in the background. So they advised her to stop living with him and find a place on her own and try to build her own life without Njoroge. They were convinced that he was not good for her and this relationship could even end in disaster. Now, Naomi told her parents that she would move out, but she never did. She just continued staying with him, and she lied to her parents that they were living separately, I think so that they wouldn't ask so much questions. Now, leading up to her death, the two had been separated for months, and they had just reconciled and gotten back together early in March this year. On the day that she was murdered, a neighbor said that at around 9 p.m., he was outside speaking on the phone and he saw Naomi arriving home, accompanied by Njoroge. According to media reports, these reports I was not able to verify, so take them with a pinch of salt. Now, according to media reports that I was not able to verify, after they went into the house, they had a big argument, which at some point involved accusations of infidelity. Njoroge accused Naomi of cheating, and her family would later confirm that she had been seeing someone else shortly before she was murdered. The neighbors told police that at around 10:30 that night, they saw Njoroge leaving the house alone, wearing a black hoodie and covering his face. What they had no idea about was the horror that had been left behind in the house that Harrison would come back home to find. After those interviews with Naomi's neighbors, the police started trying to track Njoroge. Phone tracking initially showed that his phone was active in Githurai 45. Now, whether police followed up on that, I have no idea. It has not been reported because the last report I found said that he was still on the run. After the discovery of Naomi's body that morning, Njoroge posted a very weird Facebook story, which could actually be interpreted as a confession to the murder. He posted a photo of Naomi with the caption, "Wewe kufa uniondoke, malaya wewe," which loosely translates to, "Die and get away from me, you prostitute." Police also found that he later sent a message to his friend who remains unidentified, and this message was more of a confession, implying that he had killed her because she answered him back. The text message said, quote, "Mimi nilimuua cause ya upuzi, mbona anijibu?" Translating to, "I killed her because of her nonsense. Why would she answer me back?" Despite all these pieces of evidence being found, at least 4 weeks after her death, police had not yet arrested Njoroge, even for questioning. Naomi's family told the media that at some point he was even spotted wearing Muslim attire in Solai, Nakuru, where they lived. He was spotted in Solai several times trying to disguise himself. So they say that they have lived in fear that if no action is taken, he might hurt their children because at some of the times that he has been seen in Solai, he has been following the kids. Naomi's autopsy revealed that she had 2 stab wounds to the back of her head, along with evidence of blunt force trauma from a hammer. There were also 4 finger marks on her throat, indicating that she was likely strangled too. Naomi was the firstborn of 5 siblings, and her family described her as a caring mother who always put her children first. They say that since she graduated with a community catering course in 2021, she had remained very hardworking in balancing her career and family life and always prioritizing her 3 children. Her family has asked Kenyans and the government to help bring Naomi Chebet's killer to justice, and I hope that they eventually get the justice that she deserves. Now we have come to the end of this episode. That is all I have for you on the story of the murder of Naomi Chebet. There is still not much that is out about this case so far because, for one, it is a pretty recent case, but I will provide an update as soon as it is available. And normally you'll find those updates on the podcast social media platforms. If you're not following us on Instagram and TikTok, then you might be missing out on some of the updates. You can support Krime KE podcast by sharing this episode with your friends so that we can get a larger community to listen to these cases. I have tagged the podcast contact information and social media pages on the show notes of this episode so that it is easier for you to reach out and give any feedback that you have on this episode or the podcast in general. We also have a WhatsApp number you can send in voice notes, suggest cases, and also give feedback. You can find the number in the show notes of this episode. Now, with all that said and done, do not forget to give the podcast a 5-star rating on Spotify and catch the next episode of Krime KE podcast on Thursday next week. But until then, stay safe and remember, it is crime with a K.